What's going on, my friends? We are back again to discuss Babylon 5, the new animated film, The Road Home. Some new details have come out about it a few days ago. You've probably already seen them if you're up on this Babylon 5 news. If not, I'm going to be showing them behind me as well. However, these are images, animation images from the actual movie. Now, I didn't make a breaking news video when these first released, A, because I was a little busy at the time, and B, because frankly, I wanted a little bit of time to sit with them and kind of debate over how I felt about them. So the very first thing I will say is it's being done in this quasi cel-shaded CG anime style that's been fairly popular over the last few years. I know this may be a little bit out of left field, but it reminds me personally of the animation style being used in the updated, re-released, remade, whatever you want to call it, reimagined version of the Trigun anime, which I think is supposed to be closer to the manga instead of the original release. But personally, in my opinion, I'm not a huge fan of that animation style. I can get past it, and that's the one thing I do want to reiterate here. Looking at all of these images, if the movie is fantastic, if the story is great, if the characters feel like themselves, I will be able to get past this animation style. But one thing I do want to kind of say here, animation styles, CG graphics, all of those things do tend to lend a time period to something. They are the one thing that's going to be able to age either well or horrifically. Now, if you look back at the original Babylon 5, they were pioneering in the digital effects, the computer-generated effects they used. Obviously, those things aged quite rapidly because of the advancing of the technology and all that stuff. To me, personally, I was able to get past that. I only watched this show fairly recently as far as the lifetime of it goes. About 5 years ago or so, I first watched the entire series all the way through once it was available on streaming for me. And I didn't really mind that. I mean, it took a few episodes to get into the gist of things, but those digital effects, I was able to look past. However, the actors were real people. They were wearing real costumes. Sure, some of the makeup effects were a little goofy, but that's par for the course when you're doing sci-fi, so none of that really bothered me at all once you get past those first few episodes of just getting used to the universe. This being entirely done in the animation style they chose to do it in, the characters are the things I tend to have problems with. I have no doubt that the space, the battles, all of the ships and the stations are going to look amazing and fantastic, and those are probably going to be the things that age the best out of this. The characters are what are probably going to lend this a quality of not aging fantastically, at least in my opinion, because personally, I believe this animation style is not going to make it in the long haul. I think that in a few years, this animation style is going to look outdated, and it's going to be replaced with something a little better, and it could just be the old man in me right now, but I personally don't enjoy this animation style based on what we know of this movie, bouncing around dimensions, realities, times, whatever it's actually going to be. For all I know, this could be something similar to the Spider-Verse movies, and each subsequent time period or reality they find themselves in, or specifically Sheridan finds himself in, will be done in a different, distinct style. So maybe they only start out looking like this, then there's like a pencil sketch dimension, then there's a Microsoft Paint dimension. Oh god, that would be terrible, but I don't know, I'm just throwing these thoughts out there because maybe this isn't what the entire movie looks like. If it is what the entire movie looks like, as long as it's done well, I think personally I will be able to get past it, but the character models themselves in motion may look a little better, and that's personally what I tend to have the issue with. Is this going to be a time capsule of a early 2020s animation style that falls out of favor so quickly that looking back at this in 10 years is really hard to watch? And that's what I fear, that this, for all intents and purposes, might be a fantastic addition to the canon, but we're already fighting an uphill battle with people that don't tolerate animated things whatsoever. So now we're also dealing with a choice in animation style that may also turn other people off. Now, I can't imagine very many diehard Babylon 5 fans turning this off and being scared away because of the animation style. So I think the core audience is going to watch this no matter what. I don't know, it's just something about this animation style kind of punched me in the face when I first saw it, and I needed to take a step back and gather my thoughts, because my first reaction was, oh God, this is going to be terrible. But once I stepped back and started to think about it, it is an artistic choice. I will give them that. They decided to go with one style and they decided to run with it. And if it's done well, I personally think that it's going to be a fun ride regardless of that. And hopefully after 5 minutes or so of actually sitting down and watching the movie, it'll fade into the background and it won't be hitting me in the face so hard, and I'll be able to live with it. I know I'm rambling at this point, but I mean, I'm just talking about images, and I'm just making these grand assumptions on something based on prior experiences. Basically, my primary concern here is that this doesn't impact the longevity of this movie. That's my number one priority right now, because if we're going to keep getting more Babylon 5 in the future, we need something that's really going to catch the audience's attention and really going to play up that long haul, because if people keep coming back to this and keep watching this, keep demanding more, this might actually be a backdoor way into more Babylon 5. If it fails, if it's a flop, if only the diehard fans kind of connect with it and nobody else comes on board, although the storyline in and of itself is going to make it hard for newbies to come on board. But then this might actually be the last we see of Babylon 5. This might actually be the ending, the addendum, the postscript, I don't know what you want to call it, the very final nail in the story of Babylon 5. And if that's actually what it was intended to be, so be it. I can live with that. But there are some other historical movies that have done similar things. Personally, to me, the movie Titan AE, while it had a lot of hand-drawn animation, which I think actually did age well, it tried to blend that with computer-generated effects, which did not age well. Now, granted, the entire movie was a bomb, and it kind of shut down an entire studio. I still watch that movie on occasion, and I think it's great. But because it was blending two different things, you don't always have to focus on the quality of the CG. Now you look at something like Reboot or Beast Wars. They were both fantastic, and I think personally you could go back to those and watch them today. Beast Wars a little less so than Reboot, but I think both of them, even though they're done with very, very minimal and barren types of CG compared to today, they both still work, and they both still represent perfectly what they were trying to do at the time, even though to a new viewer watching them today, they may not hold up. So those are just my rambling thoughts on a few images. What did you think? Are you still excited for this movie? Does the storyline really speak to you? Are you a Babylon 5 fan at all? Do you think these images are representative of what we will actually see? Tell me all those things below. Like, share, subscribe, do the YouTube things. I have a coffee, or however you pronounce that, if you want to throw me some money for whatever reason. But until next time.
And I think it's gonna be a long, long time.